In today's day and age, most people do not purchase products and services right away, and that is completely fine. What matters is that we focus on the information between discovery and decision, and that's where nurture sequences and email marketing comes into play. Most leads go cold because they were not followed up with in the proper way, or in some cases, the individual did not feel like they got any value from the emails or the experience connecting with the business. Email nurture sequences can solve this problem. And our goal in this module is to focus on that customer journey, to focus on that message, to dial in that experience when somebody connects with you, either through a lead magnet or a discovery call or signing up for your newsletter, all the way to the process of making a decision. We want to make sure that they're getting the value, that you're connecting with them at the right time in the right way, so you're not pressuring them, you're not making them feel uncomfortable, you're giving them just the right amount of space to allow them to make the decision to move forward. In many cases, nurturing individuals increases the lifetime customer value. People are willing to spend more with you and they're willing to stay longer with you because they feel like it's a good relationship and it's mutually beneficial. If you were just to come in and directly sell somebody your services, it's a transaction relationship. Somebody pays you, they get the services they want, and they leave. Nurture sequences extend the conversation in a positive way. It provides time to make a decision. And the last thing I want to point out with email nurture sequences is that it takes time off of your plate. You don't need to worry about going and sending one-on-one emails and following up with somebody, seeing where they're at, and making sure that they're on the same page as you. Your goal is to think about those expected conversations and to build them into the nurture sequence so that you can let a system do that process for you and you can focus on more important tasks. And with that, I want to share my iPad screen and let's start building a general nurture sequence and what that looks like. Okay, you can see my screen. I've already gone ahead and built out a general layout. So let's just start at step one over here. This is going to be your entry point, your welcome email. Now, every business out there is going to have dozens of different lead generation strategies going on at the same time. So you could have lead magnets bringing people into your nurture sequence. This could be your newsletters. This could be webinar trainings. They could be simply a form on social media just to ask for content. Whatever the lead is coming from, that's going to be your welcome email. So let's use a lead magnet as an example. These could be downloadable documents, ebooks, spreadsheets. This is the topic somebody's coming through. And let's say it is an ebook. Whoops, didn't mean to delete that. So we've got our ebook coming through here. That first email that somebody's going to get is going to contain the ebook. And it's going to say, thanks for signing up. Here is the document. And there's going to be a button that people can download. And there's going to be a button that people can download that information for. Now, from there, we're going to want to set a delay. And that's what these little arrows are going to be representing here. And this delay, generally speaking, should only be about 1 to 2 days. I'm going to put 1 to 2 days here. And that's going to give the individual adequate time to analyze or read or understand what is in the first email. After those 1 to 2 days, you're going to want to follow up with additional content. Now, I am all about creating additional content associated to the ebook or whatever your lead magnet is. So in this case, it's an ebook. Let's say it's about putting your kids under 18 on payroll. Then in this follow-up, it's going to be another ebook about putting your kids on the board of directors. So it's content that is directly associated to the original piece. And by doing that, you're enhancing the value on a topic that somebody was already interested in. So once somebody's received that second value add, we're going to do another 1 to 2 day delay. And the third piece, this is going to be their third email that they're receiving, okay? This is going to be a story-based or why-based email. So we're going to do story or why, and this is going to be about the business. This may be your mission. This may be your vision. But what you're goal here is to shed light on the business. It's to create a picture of who you are. They downloaded the document that they're interested in. They came in via a lead sheet or a webinar. At this point, that you need to establish what the business is and what the business does and why you're doing it. You're not going to sell, though, in this email. And I want to be very clear, in any of these emails so far, you're not going to drive sales. You're not going to drive people to buy something. That said, I'm a huge advocate for always having a call to action. So in these emails, that call to action is going to be booking a call. It's such a light call to action. It's not an aggressive one like buy my services. It's more of, hey, let's just talk. I want to have a one-on-one conversation with you and give you a comprehensive analysis of what's going on. I want to provide more education, but on a personal level. And these call to actions tend to work really well because people don't feel pressured to buy. So we've started with our welcome email. We've added additional content. We've created an idea and painted a picture of what the business is. The next step now is to provide social proof. And this can be through case studies or testimonials. This tier right here is to show, hey, we provide content to people. We're going to give you more content. This is who we are, and this is what we stand for, and this is what people are saying about us. And you're giving them a reason to continue to listen. The goal here is to paint a picture on what other people think of us now. This is what we think of ourselves. This is what people think of us. And this is going to be a really important email to establish some repertoire. When you go to buy something on Amazon or you're going to buy something at Walmart, you're likely going to look at the reviews first before you even consider adding that into your shopping cart. That's what we're wanting to do here. Is we want to give individuals those reviews and be one step ahead of them and say, hey, this is what people are saying about our services. And I want to go back here because I forgot to mention this. We want to add a delay again between here. And at this level, we're actually going to look at a 2 to 4 day delay now. Okay. Now I want to talk a little bit more about the delays and why you want to do this. So as a little exercise before we continue on this delay process, I want you to think about something. When was the last time you were watching a show or watching the Super Bowl, for example, and you saw an ad so many times that you started getting annoyed from it? This is what we call frequency capping. When somebody sees something so many times that it starts to present a negative experience rather than a positive one. The same can be said for emails. We don't want to send somebody an email back to back to back to back to back to the point of where somebody's so annoyed because their inbox is just filled with garbage. We want tailored content that is released at a proper time that gives individuals the time to go back and look at content, to analyze it, take in the value that you're providing, and then move on. So we start at that first stage. They're going to get that ebook. 1 to 2 days may not be long enough if you're giving them a 40 or 50 page ebook. You may want to consider a 3 to 4 day delay if you've got a strong ebook from here into this section. And the same can be said for the second follow-up lead magnet. If your first one is already pretty big and you add an additional element that adds even more work onto that individual's schedule, then you're likely going to want to extend this delay as well and make that even up to 7 to 10 days. Again, we don't want to be in front of somebody so often that they start to get annoyed. So these delay periods are really important from stage 1 all the way to stage 4 or 5. Now let's come back to the social proof stage. So you send individuals the social proof email. Now you want to wait again. Now this waiting period can be a little bit shorter, or you can keep it consistent and expected. So in this case, the last waiting period is 2 to 4 days. In the next waiting period, we could do 4 to 7 days. And then they receive the next email. And this email is probably the email you've been waiting for throughout the entire nurture sequence. And this is going to be the invitation stage or the light sale email. Now I say light because this email should not be aggressive. It should not be in somebody's face. It should be an invitation, a light RSVP. Come to the party if you want, but we're not going to pressure you into this. It's important to take a light sale approach because realistically, taking a conservative approach here, they've had 2 days, 4 days, 8 days, and then we'll say 15 days from signing up for that lead magnet to then being sold your services. 15 days is only 2 weeks. That may not be long enough to build trust and relationship. So it's imperative that you're lightly selling your services, giving them the opportunity to move forward, but there's no pressure. You may recognize that this email gets low open rates, low engagement rates, and low click rates. But that's okay because we're not done there. You've introduced your services, but you want to fall back now. If somebody doesn't engage in this step, we want to hit them with more value. And that's where this email comes in. And at this point, we want to now spread it out to a 7-day delay between all emails. So we'll come over here and just add that already in anticipation. And then we'll come over here and this will be a 7-day delay as well. Now you're setting expectation. I'm not going to email you a ton. It's just going to be once every week. And depending on when you came in, that's going to be established as the time that I'm going to send you an email. So at this point, we want to add more value. So value, value, value. This could be more spreadsheets, more ebooks, or more education. The point here is that you want to fall back after you've sold somebody or presented your services and say, hey, look, you may not be ready. That's totally okay. Let me give you more information because I'm here to help you grow. I want to watch you succeed. Here's more value. Now from here, we're going to have another 7-day delay and we're going to come to the next email. At this point, they may not be ready to sell. At this point, they may not be ready to buy. So what you want to do is encourage them to expand into your network. And this is going to be your social stage. In this email, you're going to introduce Facebook. You're going to introduce Instagram. You're going to introduce LinkedIn. You're going to introduce TikTok. Everything that we've done in previous modules where you have a digital presence, put it here. We want to give the ability to individuals to then follow those accounts because what we're doing here is instead of just providing value in an email, you're now saying, hey, look, I've got additional value on all of these platforms. And I'm still going to send you emails every week going forward until you unsubscribe. But if you're interested in more content, you want to digest more education, go to my social platforms. Okay? Now we have another 7-day delay. And this is when we want to do an if statement or an if then statement and we want to split people up. This is going to be a non-engaged split. And this is imperative. And this stage is crucial for your nurture sequence. And it's imperative for your domain reputation and brand reputation. Why? Well, they've already received, roughly speaking, through this process, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 emails. We want to make sure that they've opened at least one of them. If somebody has not engaged with anything, boot them, get rid of them. We do not want them in the system. This is going to negatively impact your business and your domain reputation if you keep them in that nurture sequence and you continue to send emails to them. They're not interested in opening up the email. In many scenarios, if somebody hasn't opened an email after 7 sends, they probably gave you a bad email. They maybe made a mistake with their email and they're not getting the content you're sending out. And your CRM and your domain reputation is going to look at how many emails are you sending versus how many are engaging. If you continue to send emails and you're not getting engagement, then email platforms like Google, Yahoo, and Bing are going to start classifying your emails as spam. And that is not what we want. We want to stay in the primary inbox folder. If you end up going to spam, it is way harder to get out than it is to get there. It's kind of like your credit score. You can make one mistake and all of a sudden your emails go to spam 24/7, and you can make one mistake with your credit and your score just drops ridiculously, and it takes a lot more time to build it back up, and it takes a lot more time to build positive reputation and ranking. So it's imperative at this stage to exclude those individuals and get them out of the system. Now, if they have engaged with your business, excellent. We can do one of two things. We can rotate individuals to the newsletter, or we can continue nurturing. Now, I say rotate to a newsletter and continuing nurturing, but realistically, both of these are one and the same thing, because you're going to take your standard weekly email and you're going to start dropping it in to the sequence of your email nurture. You're ultimately going to take your weekly emails and you're just going to continue dropping them out into boxes with 7-day delays. And I'll put delay here, delay here. Now, I've built some really intense nurture sequences for clients in the past, and you start with those 10 emails and then you continue to just add content onto the back end. And what happens is you go from a, say, 20 to 30 day nurture sequence to a 9-month nurture sequence where you've got emails going out every week, and you realistically do not need to worry about emailing a bunch of people every week because they're in a huge nurture email sequence. The only thing you really have to worry about is making sure that the emails that you created 8 months prior are still relevant to the current day that you're sending those emails out. Additionally, you can send people into the introduction or that entry point and then forget about them until they ultimately decide to purchase your products or sign up for your services. Once you get to this point right here, if you're going to continue building out those nurture emails, I recommend selling your services and doing a little bit more of an aggressive sell. See, this one over here is a light sell. Doing a little bit more of an aggressive sell every 4 to 5 emails. You're going to constantly keep reminding them, hey, I'm here to provide services. And this is the point that I want to bring up goals for your nurture sequences. Nearly every CRM out there that you build nurture sequences in, you're going to set a goal, a high level expectation for what you want individuals to do in that sequence. And in most cases, your goal is to become, or is for these leads to become a customer. So what you're going to do is go into the back end of that nurture sequence and create a statement. If somebody is tagged with a customer tag or the specific service tag that you provide, then I want you to remove them from this campaign. And what you've done now is created a upwards of 9-month nurture sequence. And at any point, if somebody decides to purchase your product and they become a customer, they're going to be removed from the sequence. I also want to point out that I'm saying 9 months, but it's imperative that you continue to incorporate something very similar to this every 4, 5, 6, or 7 emails. You want to make sure that if somebody's not engaging, you remove them from the system. Now, the last point I want to make here for this general nurture sequence is that once you've got a good 3 months under your belt, you can go in and look at data metrics for each email. You may recognize that this email here, and let's use a different color, has a, see if this one shows up. Okay, perfect. A 48% open rate. Okay, that's great. But you notice that this one has a 12% open rate. If that's the case, you may want to go in and replace this email. Alternatively, the only exception when it comes to open rates is going to be this email, your light sale. Some people may not engage with it a ton. Some people may not open it because they see the subject line and immediately know you're just selling your services. This still should be the same throughout. You should still keep this email as the same light sale. You don't want to replace that. You may want to go in and change some verbiage, maybe change the way you approach selling your services, but this should still be a service email. Okay, we've talked about building this general nurture sequence. Now I want to throw a little bit of a twist into it, and I've created the same rough design below. It's not going to have all the words here, so we're just going to focus on the structure, and I want to point out some unique opportunities you can take advantage of, and that is going to be this sequence. Now, this is an email nurture sequence that incorporates SMS. Now, when it comes to SMS, some CRMs incorporate that into their systems. Others, you have to integrate with a third-party platform like Twilio or RingCentral. It's going to cost money, so you're going to have to accept that adding SMS to your business is going to be anywhere from 3 to 4 cents per text. So depending on the magnitude of how many leads are coming through, you could rake up a little bit of a bill when it comes to these sequences. But in this case, you've got your entry, you've got your additional value, and then your SMS. Now, SMS is going to be extremely personable. Many people are very, very, very protective when it comes to their phone number. So how you introduce yourself via text is super, super important. What we want to do with this intro text is usually relating to the value adds that you've done here. In this case, the text can say, hey, I noticed you downloaded this document a few days ago. I wanted to touch base and see if you had any questions, or if you wanted to jump on a call and talk further about how you can implement X, Y, and Z into your business. It's a value add text. It's a personalized introduction. Say, hey, I'm just here to provide additional help for you and your business. I'm not going to be selling you via text message. The goal here is that you're introducing yourself and you're providing additional support and value. You're not selling your services. When it comes to SMS, there are a lot of additional factors like 10 DLC verification. That's something that we're going to get into later. But when you send text messages through CRMs, individuals are going to have the opportunity to opt out of receiving texts. And if that's the case, you're just going to have to deal with it. And that's totally understandable. You can't send text messages going forward when it comes to nurture sequences or additional marketing campaigns. Now, another thing to point out, and this is a nice little tip or trick here. So let's pause and throw out a nice little strategy. Let's say in the introduction email, you are selling a lead magnet, or not even selling, you're giving away a lead magnet for free. When you're giving away a lead magnet, you're likely going to have a form that people have to fill out in order to receive the information. And that form is going to be your name, first and last, and it's going to be your email and a phone number. I can't tell you how many times I've run campaigns for clients in the past. Now, in most cases, when you're providing a lead magnet to individuals, you're going to have a form as the trigger. And on that form, you're going to have a request to get their first and last name, email, and I always recommend phone. Now, this is where we deal with some problems here. As I mentioned earlier, phone numbers are very, very personable, and many people protect them much more than your standard email. So I can't tell you how many times that I've run campaigns for individuals where leads will put in a fake phone number. Now, this is a tip that I've built over the last few years that has really increased individuals putting real phone numbers. Okay? With that entry email, the email that they receive with the document, doc, we're going to, on the landing page where this form is, say, hey, put in your information and we will text you the document, okay? And we're going to leave it at that. What you're really going to do is you're going to send them an email with the document as well, but you're also going to text them. So we're going to come over here and let me just use this little fancy platform, copy that. We're going to paste that over here. Didn't paste right. Copy that. I'm going to paste that here. So we're going to text them the document as well. And in many cases, you're going to have to use Bitly, like a short form URL platform, and put the document in a Google Drive or a OneDrive or a Dropbox link and send that link to individuals. So individuals can click that link on their phones and pull up the document. By putting "we will text you" on the landing page, people immediately think that they're not going to receive the document unless they put in a real phone number. So that's a nice little tip or trick there to make sure you're getting a real phone number. And getting a real phone number is going to benefit you far more too, because in this nurture sequence, we have email, we have SMS for this stage. And if we nurture sequence here, the next one is your story and then social proof. So we'll do story, proof, sale, value, and the last one was social stage. So you got your text, you're going to hit them with the story. You're not going to do anything between that delay period. You're going to give them proof, and then you're going to hit them with the sale email. When you send that sale email, you're going to follow it up with a phone call. This is where you want to start utilizing the real phone number that you got. Give the individual a call. Bring up the entry point so they know where you're coming from. So let's talk about the process of calling those individuals. You're going to want to call them and immediately focus on how they came through into this nurture sequence. You're going to say, hey, you downloaded this document and I've been sending you emails over the last few days and weeks of additional value, and I wanted to just follow up with you and see how you're doing, see if you've been able to implement these items and really take advantage of the content I've been sending you. This phone call is going to be light. You're going to say, hey, I provide some services. There's no pressure on this call. I just want to, break the ice, give you a call, talk to you, see how you're doing. And if you're interested, we can schedule a more official call. I can send you a link to do that. Otherwise, this is just a phone call to introduce myself. And then at that point, you're going to hit them with more value, and you can tell them that on the phone call, like, hey, in a few days, I'm going to send another email over to you, and I'm just going to send you some more content. So keep an eye out for my email. Now you've set that expectation, and you've built the process of informing them to watch out for your email and to encourage engagement. And with that phone call, you may notice that the open rate skyrockets here because you've created that engagement and you've created that expectation. You're going to hit them with the socials again. If they don't pick up the phone, if they're not responding via text, then of course we want to boot them, get them out. And then this is where this section comes into play again. So we'll just copy that, bring that down here, and you're going to just continue that cycle for your continued nurture sequence. Now I have another option here. This is getting even more advanced, okay? So we come over here. This is going to be your entry. Then we have added value. And here we've got our story, proof, light sale, value, social. We've got our SMS right here. We have our phone call right here. And now we're introducing direct mail. Now this is a little bit more tricky, and it's not for all nurture sequences, okay? And the reason I say that is because we come back up here and your form generally is going to ask for this information right here, okay? When it comes to the nurture sequence like this, your form is going to have a lot more information. Their name, their address, their phone, email. In some cases, I like to do the birthday at this point because you're already asking for a lot of personal information. And through birthday, you can set up additional nurture sequences to say happy birthday when their time comes around every year. You may ask them for business docs in this form, okay? So let's talk about this form here now. If you're going to be asking for this much personal information, this is not going to be your standard lead magnet. And I'm going to put lead magnet here, and I'm going to take red and scratch that out. This lead magnet is going to be a lot more advanced. We're talking full courses. We're talking event access, like live streaming, like an event, a live event, getting access to that. So I'll put live right here. We're talking about elaborate books. We're going to talk about other items, could be really advanced ebooks. Now, you may have a 50-page ebook. I'm talking like 200-page book, something that is likely potentially even printed. Other options in this area could be actual ebooks that are 200 pages long or books that are actually printed in person. What I've also seen in these areas too are merchandise. And you're going to be giving your merchandise out for free. All they need to pay for is shipping and handling. And by providing free merchandise, guess what you're going to get? Address, just like that. And of course, they're paying for the shipping and handling. You just have to pay for the products that you're creating. So let's come back over to direct mail. You send them the content, add value, send them a text message, hit them with the story. Direct mail are going to be flyers, upcoming events. It could be thank you cards. I've printed and created cards before that associate. I'm going to use a different color and make it easier. I've created direct mail. I've created some direct mail printables that include QR codes that point to all of the social links That's an option with the direct mail. This is going to be something that is tangible, that somebody can hold and actually see your business information. You can go a step further. Then further down the line, when they make their way past all of these situations, you're going to send them other mailers. And in this case, a great option are magazines. There are a lot of services out there that will help you build a magazine, or there are magazine companies that will allow you to put your face on the cover and they fill it up with a bunch of adverts. If you're interested in that, I work and have partnered with a couple third-party companies that I can connect you with. And the magazines can be anywhere from 78 cents to $3 per print. Again, when people are going through this nurture sequence, it's going to be a lot more advanced. It's going to be costly, but these leads are going to be very, very particular. You're going to be bringing in very qualified leads, and there's a reason you're putting money behind them, and it's because you're going to make up all of that money later down the road. Now, just adding some further context here, you've got direct mail here. Coming further into the email sequence, in order to increase engagement and to provide additional value, I have a little ticket image here that I created. This can be raffles, drawings. Here you may want to offer a free service. And if somebody wants to take advantage of that, they have to submit another form, or they have to buy a small product that you provide on your website, or they can literally buy a raffle potentially. It depends on your state regulations, so always look into that, because each state does vary when it comes to how individuals can enter into raffles and drawings. But this can be a huge benefactor to building trust and relationship. Alternatively, later down the road, you got my little Zoom image here where you're creating live trainings or live streams, live trainings, and you're inviting individuals to come and engage with you one on many. So this is not going to be a one-on-one. That's going to take a lot of time. That's going to take more energy from you. Your goal is to bring as many people from the email nurture sequence into the group and to then pitch additional education. And at the end of the call, you're going to do a more, we'll say, moderate sales pitch. These are some options of nurture sequences. Now let me take my screen off again and come back to the video here. There are so many different options and variables that can play into an effective nurture sequence. It is up to you to figure out what journey you want to take individuals through. A few things to be reminded of, and I mentioned this already earlier. Make sure you're providing adequate delays between your emails, text messages, and postcards or live trainings. Whatever you decide to do in your sequence, make sure there are good delays. You don't want to be in front of somebody so aggressively that they want to leave and they unsubscribe. Secondly, make sure that the content that you are creating is personalized. Do not make it look robotic. You want these emails to look like they are coming from a person and that they were handwritten. If they look robotic and basic, then people are likely to not engage with them or just, again, unsubscribe. Third, when building these emails out, do not sell your services until later. And then when you do start selling your services, don't jam in a bunch of different things. Don't make it complicated and give somebody a decision. Sometimes if there's too many decisions, people are indecisive and they don't make a decision at all. So be precise, make sure that the sales pitches and those sales emails are very direct, concise, and easy to read. And last, fourth point here, still add a call to action on your emails. Don't make it aggressive and in your face. Just simply offer the ability for somebody to schedule a discovery call with you or submit a form to then schedule a more comprehensive consultation. Give them a light opportunity to take an additional step forward and connect with you. Email is just one stage. We want to bring them into the business a little bit more aggressively, and that could be through a phone call. So at the bottom of every email, create a little blurb that says, hey, if you're ready to move forward and you want to schedule a call with me, click the link below. Or, hey, if you're interested in any of our services on our website, click the link below and let's jump on a call and talk about it. Give them the option, but don't make it obvious. Okay, you've seen my drawings. We've talked about nurture sequences. Let me share my screen real quick, and I want to just give you a high-level view of ActiveCampaign. If you watched the previous module talking about sales pipelines, we created some automations in that module as well, and that's going to be very similar to this process. That being said, I still want to give you guys the opportunity to see what it looks like to build a nurture sequence. Okay, you can see I'm on ActiveCampaign here. We want to navigate to our automations tab. Now, for those of you not using ActiveCampaign, your automations tab may say workflows or sequences. Now, for those of you not using ActiveCampaign, on the left side, you may find a column that says workflows or sequences. It's going to be generally the same thing. There's just a slight variance in verbiage. When you come here, we're going to create that automation, and we're going to click Start from Scratch. And then we're going to create that trigger. And that trigger could be, again, individuals coming through on a form. So we're just going to hit Submit Form. There's our trigger. That's our entry point where somebody's coming. Then we're going to send them the welcome email. Now I'm just going to create some blank canvases here. I'm not going to actually do anything intense. So we got our welcome email. This email name is going to be our welcome. Here are the downloadable links to the docs. Okay. There's that email. We're going to set a 1 to 2 day delay. So we're going to come here, wait. We're going to do 2 days. I'm going to pretend that this downloadable document is a little bit larger. We're going to send another email here, create a new email, blank canvas. This one's going to be a second follow up with additional value. We're going to hit save. We're going to come again over to this section, add a wait period. This one we're going to set as 2 days. Send them another email. Whoops. This email is going to be story brand introduction. Save. Now at this point we've done 2 day delay. So same day, waited 2 days, 4 days. Here I'm going to make this a 3 day wait period, and we're going to send another email. And this one's going to be our social proof email, testimonials. And then we're going to extend that wait even farther. Let's do 5 days now. This email is going to be your light sale email, your invitation. So invitation, whoops. Okay. From here, we're going to wait again. But at this point, we want to just wait 7 days. So we can either do 7 days, or I can just come over here and click 1 week, 7 days pretty much. We're going to send them another email. This one's going to be value, wait 1 week, send another email. And this one's going to be follow our social media accounts. Now, this is the point where we want to create the if then statement. So we're going to click that and do if else. The condition is opened. So has opened any email in the last, in this case, it would be 7 plus 5 plus 3. We're roughly around 20 days or 22 days. So we're just going to drop that down and do 22 days. Has opened any email that we've sent in the last 22 days. Alternatively, you can say I believe you can do any email inside the campaign. Let's see, this one is automation 5. Okay, we're just going to skip that section. Okay, we've established that if they've opened any email in the last 22 days, then that's a positive for us. And if that's the case, yes, then we're going to continue this sequence and continue sending them emails. And I'm just going to make this rotate newsletter emails. Another little tip or trick, if you've been sending a bunch of newsletters over the last few months or years, go into your CRM and figure out which newsletter has the highest open rate and the highest engagement rate. You can duplicate that into your nurture sequence and start dropping that in, because you know people previously liked that content. You don't need to worry about creating content that you need to manage. Now, contact doesn't match these conditions, then we're going to hit this and we're going to remove them from the business. So we're going to unsubscribe them from the master SMS list here. It says master SMS, but this is just your master list. See if there's anything else we want to do here. Update contact. We can say, so if there's anything else we want to do here before we unsubscribe them, we can come up to the top or below. Contact, we can do score. So if you have built scores in your pipeline and you've established those scores, then you can say this person is a negative score or this person's going to be a negative option. And realistically, once you unsubscribe them anyways, they're going to be put into a special do not contact list, and your sales team probably will know not to reach out to them anyways. And at this point, based off of the nurture sequences that we were creating, if I come back to the iPad, you can see here, we can continue that process indefinitely up to 9 months if you want, or you can stop it and bring people back into the nurture sequence, or you can transition individuals over to your newsletters and add them to a list that you're going to just email weekly. Okay. Now, the last thing I want to do within this nurture campaign is set that goal. And ActiveCampaign is a little interesting in the way they build it. You have to click into the little button here and type up the action. And when you type up goal, it'll say jump to an action when the contact matches the conditions. The goal name becomes a customer, and jump to this action when the goal conditions are met. So in the condition sections, you can set your own custom parameters like customer stage or pipeline stage. In this case, we can go to the deal stage or deal details, and we can find one that matches, has deal in stage, any pipeline. This is the pipeline we created, and we can come over and add the customer retention stage and tier, because that means that they became a customer. And when this goal is below contact's position or anywhere, if the content does not meet this goal conditions, continue anyways. Triggers conversion when goal is achieved, and that conversion, we can name it, became a customer. Conversion value, I believe in the previous modules we said the conversion value is 1,000, and we click create and save. Now has a deal, this goal is here, and it says has deal on stage, customer retention in mind. Now this stage has been completed. At this point, we want to make sure that this goal stays at the bottom at all times, because once they jump to this section, they're going to end the automation. And in order to jump to this section, they have to match these conditions. So it literally says jump to this action when the goal conditions are met, and that is has deal on stage and they became a customer. I mean, you can set way more contacts details if you want. You can tag them with a specific service if you have that. You can match contact lists. You can create actions for individuals, like they submitted a form, has opened something, they were forwarded to a different group. There are so many different options, and in your CRM, you're going to want to establish what those conditions are that represent somebody becoming a client or a customer. As you can see here, now they are going to, and now that we have that established, we've completed our nurture sequence. Now, the last thing I wanted to talk about when it comes to this module here is email campaigns. There are differences between nurture emails and email campaigns. Email campaigns are one-offs. You're going to use email campaigns for sending promotional emails. Maybe a big life event occurred either in the business or publicly, like with the government, and you want to update individuals on what's going on. They are going to be separate, and campaigns will still have the same reporting, but they're not going to be automated. In ActiveCampaign, in order to create a email campaign, you're going to come over to email over here, and emails are called campaigns. You're going to click create your first one, and then you're going to have the opportunity to create your standard email, split testing. You can create automations within the engagement of that email, and triggers for RSS, autoresponder, date-based content. In this case, we'll just start from scratch, hit next. You'll see the email will pop up. This is just a test email example, pre-header. This is your subject line. This is your sub-headline under the subject line. Sorry, I stand corrected. And then you're going to establish who it's coming from, email that it's coming from inside your account, and then you're going to select the individuals that you want to send them. Then you're going to select the individuals that you want to send this email to. And when you have a bunch of leads coming in, they're going to be added to a master list, and then you can segment those lists into sub emails and sub lists. So we don't have that built yet. So that's why there's nothing showing here. And this is a sandbox account. So there are no emails in this account on top of that. So you're going to set that subscribe to list and send away. Here you can schedule that email to send at a specific date or time. You're going to establish whether or not you want to track or automate anything. So if somebody replies, do you want to automate a reply to that email? You can integrate with Google Analytics, another reason why I like ActiveCampaign. The last thing when it comes to campaigns, and you may have already done this, when you create your first email, you're going to be required to build this out, but you need to add a business address. If you don't have one, you can go to your local post office and get a PO box. You can do mail forwarding with a lot of different businesses out there as well, but you have to have an address associated to your CRM so that people can mail in requests to be removed from your system. Also, when you create this address, ActiveCampaign is automatically going to add the unsubscribe button at the bottom of your emails and give individuals the opportunity to opt out as well on a digital level. Once you've created that campaign, you can come up here and this is your email designer. This is what it looks like. They give you hundreds of different templates. Here's a blog post template. You can use AI or you can just use the template from scratch and build it out. It's roughly speaking a drag and drop builder. So you've got your structures over here. You can add your logo. You can add buttons. You can add sections and containers. You can see here the blocks, images, text, buttons, spacers, videos, social links, all of the above. Once you're done, you're going to hit next and you're going to have the ability to send a test email. Right here it says the email needs to be verified, but you'll see a test email right here, or you'll see this button at the top right. It says test and preview, and you can send a test email to yourself or up to 5 emails that you want. I recommend sending an email to your personal email and your business email. Open up that email on your phone, open up the email on a tablet, and open up an email on your desktop. You want to make sure it looks good and it's dynamically balanced on all platforms. When you're ready, you just hit the blue button, send it now, and that will either go out literally immediately when you press that button, or if you've set a schedule, of course, it'll send when you schedule that out. And that concludes the module for lead nurturing and email marketing. I know it was pretty elaborate and intense. This is definitely likely one of the longer modules of the course. Email nurturing is incredibly valuable, and I wanted to give you as much information as possible so that you know how to engage with your audience, build that trust, and build a relationship, and ultimately help scale your business and bring in more customers in the long run. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Alternatively, you can also post on the community chat, see if anyone else has any examples or ideas or recommendations when it comes to nurture sequences.